1984. 2024. 1984. Excuse me while I clear my throat. I think I just got. Um, I kind of mainlined some Pabst Blue Ribbon right into my lungs right there. 1984. That's like 40 years ago. But you know what? It only seems that way because it was only like 24 years ago that I read the book 1984 by George Orwell. And I was like 30 years old, you know. And I've said it to people before. I'm glad I never read it in high school because I wouldn't have understood it. Maybe, you know, but having been 30 years old at that point, and you know, I don't have to bring it up, but just so you get an idea, I'd already fucking been to war, fished Alaska, saved lives, fucking moved along on my own on a motorcycle across the fucking United States, slept in haunted trees, and had people say, I don't know what the hell you're talking about, through the most of it. Even my mother once said, I believe you believe it. And I was like, that's the biggest insult you've ever paid me. And I believe you believe it. It didn't happen, but no. So at the time you reach 30 years old, and it's the first time you've ever read 1984 by George Orwell, knowing you were going to read it at some point in time, it just comes along to you when the time is right. This might be the time being right. I know it's sitting on your shelf. Read the damn thing. But it's been like 24 years ago. That's almost half of my life. And when you consider, I remember my very first nightmare with Snoopy as me running through the fucking cartoon forest going, with my fucking goggles on top of my head. I think I was being chased by Nazis now that I think of it. What other thing would make sense? Well, that would have been World War One. They weren't Nazis yet. But there's still time. The thing is, as I read that book at the age of 30, I was like, oh, I'm glad I waited this long because now I can really understand it better. And really the truth is, at the bottom line of that book, I don't want to ruin it for you, but I feel like the biggest problem this main character and the central figure and these people, I think at least two of them, the main problem they came into was that they were innocent. They never really believed that people were so awful. And well, I guess they'll pay for that. But as someone who thought I was finally old enough to read 1984, I look back, and it was about 22, 23 years old when I was at Michigan State with in the Radical Thought in America class with Phil Fisk, and he gave us the book to read, The Handmaid's Tale, and I remember reading that then, and you know what? There's a reason I went for as long as I possibly could before getting all my money put on a card that I could just use anywhere and was electronic. I always felt like you need about 2 weeks of cash to move before they shut down all cash fucking transactions when the time comes. Because I read that. So having read that at 22 years old and realizing horrific, I haven't watched the show. I don't need to watch the show. I read the book by Margaret Atwood. She's got the whole fucking thing right there telling you the way it is. They can just be inspired by her book all they want in the show. I don't know. I'm sure it's very good, but I'm afraid there may be some things either missing or that they get wrong when they take artistic, what do you call it, privilege and things like that. So the thing is, maybe it didn't matter when I read these things, but both of these things I've read, I realize maybe if there's something new put into the Constitution, it's already too late. Maybe a long time ago they should have said, you can't say this stuff out loud because it's a blueprint for these fucking maniacs that are coming on. And as it turns out, I'm even still I started reading my Saddam Hussein book again today, which caught me off guard a couple of years ago. I'm like, this is exactly what this fucker's doing, that poor guy. Hey, you gotta be careful. He's fucking learning from all these fucking maniacs. And, yeah. Everybody thinks things are gonna be better in America when we become more like Russia. Good luck, Frank. But the interesting thing is, I look at this in this 1984 and this Handmaid's Tale and all these books that tell the horrific things that people are like, yeah, that's a good idea. If things work out to where we're still allowed to vote after November, coming into the next year, if that so happens, as much as I see this Project 2025 plan, it makes me wonder whether 1984 wasn't set up that way. It makes me wonder if The Handmaid's Tale wasn't set up that way just to begin with, and now they're finally getting around to it. Because it seems like, if the election doesn't go in the direction of that poor guy in Project 25, that guy, he's just the clown. They're living off of him. This bloodless entity that needs your blood. If they don't get their way, and somehow, even though they lose the election, everybody doesn't get killed that stands against them, because that's the last open option, the way they're seeing it, the way I'm seeing it, the way they're seeing it. This Project 2025 is going to be like a 41-year anniversary, a 40-year, because here we are in 2024, a 40-year like sequel to 1984, and they're just going to act like it's all make-believe until the next time they can use it again.